Hey, I'm Carly-Rae, and this is Book Hour with Constance Sayers.
Hi, I'm Constance Sayers. I'm the author of A Witch in Time and the newly released The Ladies of the Secret Circus, and I'm here with Hey, it's Carly-Rae.
I cannot wait to find out more from Constance Sayers about the Ladies of the Secret Circus, so let's get started.
So Ladies of the Secret Circus is about a woman by the name of Laura Barnes whose fiance does not show up for their wedding. She's devastated, she's in a gown, she's embarrassed and humiliated, but the problem is that no one in her family actually seems to be that surprised. And so there's a secret that no one's telling her about their family. So to find answers, she goes on a journey to Paris. She has an extra ticket from her honeymoon that she didn't use, and so she goes to Paris and beyond to kind of find out answers and to find a connection between what happened to her and that of her great-grandmother, Cecile Cabot, who was an aerialist in 1925 in this circus that is known as the Secret Circus, or sometimes the Devil's Circus. So this circus has mysterious origins. It existed in 1925 to 1926, and there's no physical trace of it, except for 3 lost paintings known as the Ladies of the Secret Circus. And so Laura teams up with an art historian who has spent his life trying to find out whether this circus existed at all. It's got like the Lost Generation Paris, you've got Ernest Hemingway and Man Ray are characters in it, and it's got kind of an Alice in Wonderland feel. I dream of Tim Burton kind of directing. It's got that kind of real magical kind of feel to it. Well, it took me about 10 years to write my first novel. I didn't know how to write a novel. I had done a lot of workshopping of short fiction pieces in graduate school, but that doesn't prepare you to, it's like a sprint to a marathon. And so my career took off, my day job did, and so it just kind of like went to the back burner all the time because I really wasn't having that much success with the book, so it just kind of went by the wayside. Finally, I got serious about it and really, plunked out a first draft during National Novel Writing Month, and then I had this massive thing that I had to edit, and it was just daunting, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I happened to be seeing the play Henry IV and was like, oh my gosh, I just need to cut this up like a play. And so then I had a first half, a middle, and an end, and it was just a great way for me to structure it. I kind of whipped it into shape and got an agent with that book, but that first book failed to sell, which was really devastating, especially after I had spent 10 years trying to figure out how to write a book. To not have the first one sell, it was a pretty devastating process, but I was able to finish the second one, which would be A Witch in Time, in about 2 years, and so I got a little faster. Well, if I have writer's block, it's usually because I don't know the next step of my writing. I don't know what's on the next page. So that means I either need to do a little bit more research, I need to be reading something that's inspiring. So in the case of the Ladies of the Secret Circus, I would watch Carnival on HBO, or I would just watch something that kind of like got the wheels moving. When I'm trying to complete a first draft, I usually write 1,000 words a day. And if I can't do that, it means I don't know where I'm going. And so that just kind of tells me that there's something just not right in my head on that. I do plot out my novels, usually writing up a 2 to 4 page, kind of synopsis or treatment. And then literally I take paragraphs and I will take them out of the synopsis and stick them onto chapter heads. And then that kind of tells me where to go. I don't use note cards and things like that. That doesn't work for me. And I work exclusively out of Word. I just find that, to kind of get a first draft under my belt is really great. And then my second and my third drafts are usually where I add the historical details, and then I'll go back maybe on another draft and kind of work on character details. So I write in a very layered fashion, and I mean maybe everybody else does, but for me it just feels like if I have very specific steps I'm looking for each time I'm going through the novel. I'm not married to my outline, and I do allow the book to surprise me. I think you have to, that's the joy of writing. You put this outline together, but at the end of the day, it's like the little details that creep up that become bigger details that really, you have to allow the book to be magical and allow it to surprise you. Well, for me, I usually have 1 to 2 main characters that I start out with. And I think for me, the wonder of the book are the things that aren't in my outline. So characters that maybe weren't main characters and they just leap from the page, so they begin to take up more real estate. I mean, that's really where a book starts to shape and come to life. And a book has to kind of leap off the page for you as a writer. So in Ladies of the Secret Circus, for example, the character of Edward Binghamton Barrow was originally conceived as a secondary character. He's an art historian who really becomes the only person who understands Laura's quest because he has one of his own. And that's something I discovered about him, you know, as the book progressed. And so for me, he rose as a character and the book began to take shape. So my books are very visual. I think I have an idea at the beginning and then the end. And I think my screenwriting background kind of plays into that because it's just how I think of it. Even when I'm writing outlines, they're usually scenes. And that's my first draft, are a lot of different scenes. And so that's really what I plot out first. I actually don't have a favorite book. Every time I write a book, I learn something new and about myself as a writer, and I feel like I've kind of earned each book. It certainly was harder to write Ladies of the Secret Circus, the second book, just because I had, you know, about a year between publications to finish it, so publication dates to finish it. So it was just a little bit more accelerated, and so I didn't get a chance to go through like my normal processes that I would have. So, but both of the books have present date time frames with historical timelines also. So they're kind of framed with a modern day framing timeline, and then have multiple timelines. So for example, in A Witch in Time, you have modern day Washington, then you have Belle Epoque Paris, Hollywood in the 1930s, and Taos and Los Angeles in the 1970s. In Ladies of the Secret Circus, you have a modern day time frame, but then you also have Paris in 1925 and maybe an alternate Paris in 1925. So both books, though, I think are quests, and so that is, I think, kind of the similarity between them, even though like the details are a little different on them. They're both books about a woman's quest. I definitely think like every kid who, you know, wants to be a writer at some point is just a voracious reader. So as a kid, I read a lot of Nancy Drew books. We would have this bookmobile that would drive by our elementary school, and I would just leave a stack of books. I think Rumpelstiltskin was a very early favorite of mine. When I was in 7th grade, it was kind of the height of the Luke and Laura phenomenon and General Hospital, and so I remember writing a 200-page treatment for a soap opera, and my sister gave me her baby blue Smith Corona typewriter, and I would just sit in my dad's office and just write. And it was so solitary and so wonderful, and it was really my first kind of entree into wanting to write. I did get my bachelor's degree in writing, creative writing, and my master's degree in English, and I focused a lot on playwriting and screenwriting, thinking that I still kind of wanted to do something in that, and it wasn't until later that I kind of switched to the novel. As a reader, though, I gravitated toward dark fantasy. Always, you know, the latest Anne Rice book was something I picked up. I love the Mayfair Witches particularly, and the vampires, and you know, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell from, you know, Susanna Clarke is another favorite. But I never had written that, and so I don't think it was really until I started writing what I read that my writing really popped. So I have ADD. And it's a real, sometimes a struggle to write, and that's why I have to be very prescriptive with myself on like 1,000 words a day and things like that, so that I kind of like sense myself in. I wrote my master's thesis, for example, in various Starbucks, and I would, you know, reward myself by finishing this and then going to another Starbucks, and I like to be kind of in constant motion. So that was a really interesting time period for me, trying to battle with my master's thesis. Obviously with the pandemic, I can't do that. I can't go from coffee shop to coffee shop. I do buy a lot of desks. I have 2 right now, and then I don't write at them, and I sit and write on my sofa. So, you know, I kind of write where I can, and I wrote most of A Witch in Time, for example, on United Airlines flights from DC to LA. And so you kind of write where you can, and where you're inspired, and where you actually also just have to kind of sit down finally and do the work. I mean, I think it kind of comes down to that. So I don't really have a process. It's more like, you know, whatever it takes to get me to a first draft. Once I get the first draft, I'm pretty much home free, because then the second and third drafts really kind of pop and make the book something special. But that first draft for me is really hard, and I'll do whatever I can. I'll reward myself with, you know, coffee and things like that, just to kind of get the work done. I think that both of my books are complicated, layered historical fantasy novels, and they are about character. I think that at the end of the novel, the character has definitely moved from one place to another, and they are quests, both of them. So whether they are quests through time or, you know, through the underworld, they are about women kind of learning how to harness their power. I think both of the books are about that in a very big way. I think they're both very feminist novels, and you know, they're dark, romantic historical fantasy books. And like I said, I think at the end, I think they're about quests, and that's the big theme. Thank you for watching my book hour on Hey, It's Carly Rae. You can find out more about my books at constancesayers.com, and also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Constance Sayers.
So that concludes today's book hour episode featuring Constance Sayers. I had so much fun listening to her story, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. In the meantime, go to the links in the description below. You guys can follow Constance, and you can follow me, Hey, It's Carly Rae, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, Pinterest, and TikTok. I'm all on social media, so come join my book community. In the meantime, get your copy of the Ladies of the Secret Circus. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. I will be featuring more authors on my channel on Book Hour of every genre, so you guys need to make sure you comment in the description below and let me know who you guys want to see on here next. In the meantime, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Bye!